A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, joining us is Professor Alan Dershowitz, of course, law school professor emeritus. We love Professor Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, by the way, just to sort of spearhead of what we're hearing with the VP choice here for Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro, some members of the media came out and said she won't pick him because he is Jewish. And look at the way she sort of handled things of late with Netanyahu. Your thoughts about all that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to really respond to Mr. Catsimatidis putting down of 1955 Chevrolets.
You got a couple.
I wish I still had that 1955 Chevy.
Especially if it was a Corvette.
Right. It would be worth a lot more than Mercedes today. So I miss my 55 Chevy. Look, if Kamala Harris refuses to appoint somebody just because he's Jewish in order to placate the Muslims of Minnesota, that would be just part and parcel of what the Democrats have been doing in terms of Jews, in terms of Israel. I'm scared of Kamala Harris. I don't think she has a place for Israel in her heart the way Joe Biden did. He didn't always act on it, but you knew that he had a place in his heart for Israel. Kamala, I'm just not sure. And so let's see who she picks for vice president. And I haven't made my decision yet. I cannot any longer, though, call myself a member of the Democratic Party after, 80 Democrats in a bigoted and double standard way walked out on Prime Minister Netanyahu. Many of these people would have been jumping all over themselves to go to hear Fidel Castro or to hear the head of Iran or to hear the head of the Palestinian Authority. And yet they wouldn't even listen to a brilliant speech made by Netanyahu. So I can't associate myself with a party like that or with a party in which Nancy Pelosi lied through her teeth when she said it was the worst speech ever made by a foreign leader. Hey, I am a pretty good judge of speakers. This is one of the best speeches ever made. And then you had another Democrat saying, well, we should never invite foreign leaders. Was he talking about Winston Churchill when he said that? I wasn't sure. And so I don't like the way the Democrats have been handling the Netanyahu visit. And I'm glad he had a good visit today.
I agree with you, Professor. As a Bill Clinton Democrat, I love Bill Clinton. I still love the guy.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the most common sense, one of the smartest presidents we ever had.
I agree with you. And he went to Yale Law School. So there. You can be a defense attorney from Yale Law School. I think I would have been a damn good defense secretary. After all, I was a good defense attorney, and I went to Yale Law School.
You know what statement? You know what statement I love? The one that Netanyahu said.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a fight between barbarism versus civilization.
Right in the beginning, he said
right.
that.
And we got that. And we have that battle in New York City right now.
Yeah. No. Look, he's right to say this is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between civilization and barbarism.
Yes.
And these useful idiots, these kids who are supporting Hamas, who are supporting rapists, who are supporting beheaders, who are supporting murderers, they deserve no excuse just because they're young. Hitler's youth were young, too, when they prevented Jewish kids from going to school in Munich in 1933 or in Berlin or in Hamburg. So these kids should not be getting jobs anywhere by Americans. And I can tell you, I would never hire somebody who supported Hamas. They have a right to support Hamas, and I have a right to say that if you do that, you're beyond civilization. I wouldn't want one of my clients to be represented by somebody who supported Hamas, who supported rape. No. And so although they have a constitution, it's great what Justice Brennan once said. He was a friend of mine. He was a great man. He was asked, how could you defend the right of an American to burn an American flag? And he did hold that you can burn your own American flag. He said if he ever saw somebody burning an American flag, he would do two things. Number one, he would defend his right to do so, and number two, he would punch him in the mouth. And that's the way I feel. These kids, when they burn American flags, let them be hit by trucks as long as they don't get censored. I don't care what happens to them. They are horrible, horrible people. when they burn American flags and when they burn Israeli flags. And I think the most important thing to know is when you burn an Israeli flag, you are definitely coming out against the United States. Scratch an anti-Zionist and you're going to find an anti-Semite.
And I said yesterday, Professor,
an anti-American.
I said yesterday, Professor, I hope the feds, whoever they may be, FBI, any of the other 17 or 18 agencies, are taking pictures of these people burning the American flag, because if they apply for citizenship papers, I hope they give them the thumbs down.
Yeah, and I hope that they pass a law now saying you can't wear masks when you burn things down. We have a right under the First Amendment of transparency. You have a right to burn the flag, and I have a right to know who you are and not employ you. But you have no right to burn the flag wearing a mask.
Governor Patterson has
your identity.
Governor Patterson has his 2 cents.
Alan, the whole political issue that I don't understand is I thought during a presidential campaign, and this goes for both parties in a way, that when you make remarks, you sort of, no matter where you make the remarks, you know that 100 million people are going to hear you.
Yeah.
So why would these statements be made about Palestinians? Palestinians, first of all, are the shield for people who really are supporting Hamas, but that's their way of purifying themselves as they see it. But my point is that people are going to go to the polls and vote. And after Netanyahu's speech yesterday, you could not vote for any of the people who are saying that they support the Palestinians when they're really opening the door for Hamas.
I agree with you, and I am going to personally boycott anybody who boycotted Netanyahu. They will never get a penny from me. They will never get my support. I think the worst among them is Liz Warren, who was my colleague for many years. She's turned out to be one of the most bigoted and despicable members of the United States Senate. She is always on the wrong side of every issue involving Jews, Israel, America, foreign policy, you name it, she's wrong.
That was too ambiguous, Alan. How do you really feel about it?
Let me tell you how I feel. When she first decided to run, she came to me and she said, Alan, I don't know anything about the Middle East. I don't know where the West Bank is. I don't know anything. Please give me a little tutorial. I gave her a tutorial, and she didn't listen to a word. And even in 2015, before Gaza, she refused to go and listen to Netanyahu back then. And I told her back then, you are now my political enemy. I will do anything to defeat you. I wish I were 25 years younger. I'd go back to Boston. I'd run against her. If I were 55 years younger, I'd go to Gaza and get a gun and try to fight against Hamas. But I'm 85, so all I can do is talk on your show.
I'm 10 years behind you. Now, Professor, I forgot what I was going to say. My God. I'm 75 and I'm losing it.
All right. Well, I'm not losing it yet. So, but close. But Professor Dershowitz, let me ask you also about the fact that Kamala Harris came out. And when she came out of her, first of all, she doesn't want to be seen behind Netanyahu. She went to her sorority meeting instead. Then she has a private meeting with him, and he comes out, and she comes out and says, well, she basically condemned Israel for Gaza. I mean, she really scolded Netanyahu to the point where the prime minister's office has said that that's not what they talked about privately, and he was stunned that she came out and publicly scolded him. Your reaction?
Look, Israeli leaders today announced that she may cost lives. She may cause a delay in the acceptance of the ceasefire or whatever deal is going to be made, because Hamas now sees some light, some distance between Israel and the United States. And by making that statement, she may have caused the death of innocent people, Palestinians and Israelis. She should never have made that statement. When you meet with somebody like the prime minister of a country, you make an agreed-upon statement. Both sides make agreed-upon statements. You don't leave the meeting and then diss the person who you just saw and was so friendly with the TV opportunity to get a nice picture. That's not right. And, you know, that's in my consideration when I have to decide, and many others have to decide, who to vote for. Right now, all I'm prepared to say is I no longer consider myself to be a member of the Democratic Party after those 80 people. I'm not yet a member of the Republican Party because I don't like Tucker Carlson. I don't like what he has been saying about Israel. I don't like what he's been saying about Ukraine, about foreign policy. And I think too many
By the way,
Republicans
breaking news, James Carville just says he's not getting terribly excited about Kamala Harris.
Well, we'll see. Of course, Obama just endorsed her, and a little too little, too late. But he's done that finally. I think he really wants his wife to be president. I mean, I think the myth that she doesn't want to be president is not true. I think that she would like to be president, and if there were an opportunity for her to run, she would. I think that may be why Obama didn't so quickly endorse her. If she had not been endorsed and if she had fallen apart in the first couple of days, I suspect we would see Mrs. Obama suddenly making herself available to be drafted to save the Democratic Party. I remember her as a student, and she was very radical, much more radical.
A lot of Brutuses around.
Obama.
Professor,
Yeah.
A lot of Brutuses around.
Yeah, A2. Yep.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much
Always
for
a pleasure.
taking the time to explain to the all-American people.
Thank you.
Thank you.